Thank you, Teddy. I'd like to first thank everyone for attending today. My name is Gary R. Albrecht, founder and CEO of GPA Trading Services. I'm the creator of the Market Price Anticipator Premium Edition 4, version 4.0 software. I'm the educator and the instructor. Brief bio, I've been a professional trader for 20 plus years. I'm considered a technical analysis expert. I'm the creator of a one-of-a-kind custom trading software. We founded GPA Trading Services about 10 years ago. We've been educating thousands of students around the world. We've conducted live events, speaking engagements, platinum program, and we also offer one-on-one coaching and mentorships. Today's topic is how to identify and trade the market trend utilizing the new MPA PE4 version 4.0 software featuring the hook and cross. Just as a reminder, hidden mysteries behind successful trading is going to equal the Market Price Anticipator software, and we'll show you why. Brief disclaimer, I'm not going to read all of this, but I will mention that trading is not suitable for all people. Some markets are leveraged, and therefore it is possible to lose your money deposited for a position. A person should only use funds that they can afford to lose that fits within their overall financial plan as developed by a qualified financial planner. We recommend you never risk more than 2% of your entire account balance when trading. For options traders, never risk more than 5% of your entire account balance on any one given option trade, and always adhere to strict proper money management. And finally, all information in this presentation is for your educational purposes and should not be taken as investment advice, nor a recommendation or endorsement to buy or sell any specific investment. Trade at your own risk. Now, key components in the hook and cross. It's common, it's support and resistance, it's trend direction, it's aligning multiple time frames, and that's the key. You need to align multiple time frames. And of course, the caveat is to understand how the lower time frames cycle within the larger time frames. And we like to refer to that as our hook and cross line of progression. This is real briefly going to show you based on, this is gold. And all we want to do is get the trend momentum and the PAI in alignment. Here's where we're talking about the PAI hook and a trend momentum cross. Very simply, all you want to do is get indicator PAI overbought, indicator trend momentum here overbought, and then once it hooks, it means the weekly is going to go from overbought to oversold, both the trend momentum and the PAI. In order for the weekly to travel all the way to oversold, the daily is going to go from overbought to oversold, plus this slingshot phenomenon we'll get in later. It's just about the time frame cycling within the others. And I'll show you a few more examples before we go to live charts. But here's an example again, where we were topping and rolling. We were at extremes, trend momentum's at extremes, PAI are at extremes. And over here is the same swing point high we have at extremes and extreme. So notice, once the weekly hooked, then crossed, we got a PAI hook and a trend momentum cross, the hook and cross. It means that the weekly, in this case, the weekly hooked and crossed down, the daily is going to go to oversold. And in order for the weekly to finish that cycle, the daily has to go to oversold, then slingshot multiple times. And again, you'll see that pattern repeat regardless of the market you're in. Here's the euro dollar. We got a monthly hook and a cross from extremes, the monthly hooked and cross. So what does that mean? The weekly is going to go from overbought all the way to oversold. Trend momentum, overbought all the way to oversold, plus in order for this cycle to finish, it has to slingshot. One more time, we have a monthly that's oversold, weekly oversold, daily oversold, 4-hour oversold, but notice as the monthly starts to hook, you already have a hook and a cross on the weekly, and that's programmed and by design. And what does a monthly hook mean? The weekly has a hook and a cross. And as I just mentioned, when a weekly hooks and crosses, what does it mean? The daily is going to go from oversold to overbought. The trend momentum is going to go from oversold to overbought, and we see days and days and days of upside pressure. And the probability of this occurring is 85 to 100% of the time. So whenever I get a weekly hook and a cross, the daily always goes to overbought. When we get a monthly hook and a cross, the weekly is going to go to overbought. If I get a daily hook and cross, the 4-hour goes to overbought. So just remember that cycle. It gives you a time frame and a fuel gauge. So many traders are like, well, when do I get in? And when they finally get in, they have no clue as to when to get out. Well, these gauges will tell you when you should be getting out based on what time frame shows the hook and cross. Okay, now let's go over why should you listen to us. Well, I'm going to show you some vast trade alerts, trading results that we've experienced with the software. And we'll go through the process. And we have so many of them, I'm just going to go back here and run down through these a little bit faster. Real quick, let me grab that. Trading results. This was gold, where we got a hook and a cross pattern. Gold moved up $126 move higher on gold. We traded both directions. Here's another example. We got extreme extension where it hooked and crossed. So we knew we were going to get days and days and days, even weeks down for the gold to move lower. Example where we not only use the trade management system, but it moves $150 lower on gold. Here's a quick scalp on the pound New Zealand. We trade everything: stocks, futures, commodity, ETF, treasury, cryptocurrencies. We trade it all. So in this example, we knew we were in an uptrend and we knew we had more upcycle to finish. So we ended up scalping this by setting what we call a bracket trade, 77 pips. So it depends on the time frame and how long and you're going to be in a trade and how long and what type of move you're expecting. Pound CAD here. We got an example where we started to go long based on a hook and a cross, early stage hook and a cross. We know we're going to get more upside, and here's where we started scalping in 90 pips in a continuation move. Dollar yen, yet again, notice everything's the same. We got a hook and a cross, so we know we're going to get some upside pressure. Why? Because the daily hook and a cross meant we had to be long at least till the 4-hour gets overbought. And a 4-hour cycle on this scale takes about 24 to 48 hours minimum. But there's a concept where we call engage, disengage. I'm going to show you this with Bitcoin in a second. This engage, disengage is a sign and symptom that this daily is going to continue to go up for multiple more days. And here we made a 150-point move. New Zealand yen. Again, same scenario. We got a weekly hook and a cross. Weekly engage, disengage, low, high, higher, low, higher, high. Everyone's heard of the term price pattern reversal. Well, that's what a failed slingshot is, where it engages and disengages, and you end up with the low, the higher low, and the higher high. So that means this was going to go up for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And we programmed this to fit in with the Ichimoku cloud. And a lot of these examples, you'll see where you're oversold together, and knowing it's going to finish the cycle, it's likely to run into the cloud. And as you can see, 423 pips. Here's another one on Baidu. I'm going to show you this one in a moment in the live chart. This was early on where the weekly was oversold, it hooked and crossed. So that meant we're at least going to get multiple days higher. But later we see we have a monthly hook and a cross, which means this weekly was going to go all the way to overbought. And I'll show you how Baidu played out, where it went all the way up weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and price went into the cloud. And that's at this point in time, was a $14.20 move on Baidu. With cash, or gold in this case, black gold, Texas Tea, the Beverly Hillbilly. Again, the simplicity of the software is amazing, but yet the overall complexity of the programming is amazing. In this example, we got the trend momentum and PAI extremes. It hooked and then crossed. You get a trigger that tells you when to get in. And this was a $4.34 move on black gold that actually went further down, but we captured at this point, showing simple. When the PAI gets oversold, the trend momentum gets oversold, and you get a PAI hook, you sell. And we even have triggers for visual aids for those of you that like visual aids. Now let's continue. New Zealand dollar, same scenario, deeply oversold, the PAI hooks, got a trigger to go long, went up over 300 pips. With this trade management system, it'll automatically take your profits wherever you put your take profit levels, and it moves your stop loss from at risk into profit. So once you reach your take profit one, you're in a no losing trade. And even if the market reversed, it can only pip you out for more profit. There it shows how many pips you're up, which represents the 300. And we had a take profit 1 at 75, a take profit 2 at 154, and we're still ongoing for that take profit 3 further up the food chain. 200, here's on Bitcoin. We had Bitcoin with a big rally. Prior to this, we rallied this all the way up for the weekly to go to overbought. From oversold to overbought, we were long. Then we went short when it hooked back down here, and we went down. As you can see, we took profits along the way, and this total move as the weekly was finishing was $2,837 move on Bitcoin. Well, guess what? The weekly finished this down cycle because the monthly had a hook and a cross. So we knew to stay short until the weekly finished the cycle. Now that the weekly finished the cycle, we closed that trade for maximum profits. Now we're long as the weekly's headed up. And I'm about to go live to the charts to show you where this weekly is already given us signs. It's going to go up for weeks and weeks and weeks more because the monthly hooked and engaged, disengaged. But I'll show you that shortly. Pound odd, here's an example where we're 778 pips up, same reason, hook and cross going lower. And then we kept in the trade. Why? Because we knew we had more time frames. That monthly time frame was headed lower. Went to 1,274 pips, same trade. We weren't stopped there. It went on to 2,270 pips because we still had more downside on the higher time frame. And then finally, we went all the way down up to 3,627 pips. Pound CAD, 3,073 pips. Pound yen, 3,215, 3,215 pips. Here's a breakout trade. We have a bracket and breakout in the London session for those of you that trade Forex. We can set this automatically to the software and it gives you the high and the low. And based on where you are in the hook and cross cycle, we know whether expect to break to the downside or expect to break to the upside. And you can tell the system to either buy it when it breaks, buy it when it breaks the high or sell it when it breaks the low. And it's so advanced that even if it might break the high, you can tell it, no, I don't want to buy the high. I only want to take it when it breaks the low because the hook and cross pattern says we're going lower, but that's 272 pips on a breakout trade. Here's a hook and cross trade entry based on a euro yen, same trade, and we went up 274 pips. Here's one on a hook and cross trigger entry, as we can see here on the pound CAD, different than the ones I showed you earlier. These are recent trades where the PAI hook, the trend momentum cross, meaning the 4 hour is going to go to overbought, and we were able to get 341 pips on this one. Pound Swiss, recently we got a weekly oversold, monthly oversold, daily oversold. We got the PAI hook and cross, and we even tell you in live and in class, buy the PAI hook when it gets oversold territory, and that's when you get in. And this system is so advanced, I can set my trade management system in advance, knowing my daily's oversold, and when it finally finishes the cycle and reverses, it'll trigger higher and enter the trade automatically for you. This one went on, you can see take profit 1 at 220, take profit 2, take profit 1, 220, take profit 2, 685, and now we're currently up 1,289. Pound yen, we showed you the 3,000 plus pips. Well, now we're trading it to the upside based on the cycles. Again, a weekly cycle oversold. We got a hook and a cross. We know we're going to get days to the upside. We took profit 1 at 282, took profit 2 at 701, currently up 1,600 pips. Now let's go to the chart. That's just a sampling of what we've shown as far as the success rate of the software. It's extremely high probability outcome when you get what we call the PAI hook and a trend momentum cross. Well, let me show you the uniqueness of this. This would not hook, right? You see, when you get oversold, just because you're oversold does not mean you want to buy. You want to let it get oversold, let the trend momentum get oversold, but then hook. And notice with the hook and cross strategy and the triggers, it was still oversold here, but there's no triggers. It eventually triggered higher when we finished the cycle, then triggered higher. And why is the daily triggering higher? And when did the daily first cross? If I go to the 4 hour, you'll see that when that first hook, we already had a 4 hour hook and a cross early on. So again, this 4 hour would never hook nor a hook and cross unless the lower time frame already had a hook and a cross. So I could do this all day. A daily has a hook, then a 4-hour has a hook and a cross. A 4-hour has a hook, a 1-hour has a hook and a cross, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just Forex. It could be anything you want to look at. The euro AUD. Most recently, our weekly got to oversold, and I'm already telling everyone, this was in class here, when the weekly's got a hook and a cross, we knew the daily had to go to overbought, right? So we were trading this to the upside, but I told them when we get to the upside and the daily reaches overbought territory, go ahead and sell it. Watch what the daily did for us. The daily went all the way to overbought. See it? It grinds its way to overbought. Trend momentum goes to overbought. Why? Again, just real briefly. The weekly was oversold, had a hook, the trend momentum crossed, and a weekly hook and a cross mean the daily, day after day after day after day after day after day after day is going to go to overbought. Look at what the daily did. It went day after day after day, grinding and laboring rise, but it made it to overbought. And then you can see, we say this in advance. So during class, we give you numerous trade alerts. We meet 3 times a week. We average about 6 to 8 hours of live trading, and all we do is hunt the market for setups and review, and very extensively review and educate exactly what to do, when to do it, why to do it, and how to do it. And this was set up in days in advance. So you say, well, Gary, what if I have a job and I can't meet during live trading hours? These will set up days in advance, and we know as this was climbing, you're waiting for this to get overbought. And once it's overbought and it hooks, then you sell it, there's your trigger, and then boom, you'd be up several hundred pips on this downside move. So again, it doesn't matter what you're looking at. We have multiple platforms here. Here is the New Zealand Singapore dollar. How did I know the New Zealand Singapore dollar was going to go up for a long period of time? We had a weekly hook and a cross, which meant the daily had to go all the way to overbought. And as the weekly continues to push, the daily has to go to overbought plus this slingshot phenomenon. Well, now we had a corrective action. Now we're back with another trigger entry to go long, and we're currently up 256 pips. See, it's currently ticking, 256 pips, and I hadn't even taken a profit one. So what if I want to take a profit one? All you got to do is push the label, take profit one. And now it's going to lock in this profit, and we give you a little motivational speech there, and I'll move this over that way, out of the way. But it'll allow to lock it in, and now it makes this trade a winning trade, and it can no longer be a losing trade. Our stop loss is in profit, and because we entered over here, and now we're up in profit, I took profit, so the stop loss is automatically moved into profit, so even if this reverses, it's a winning trade. AA, anybody trade stock? AA has a weekly deeply oversold, it has a monthly and deeply oversold territory. So what's AA going to start doing? It's going to start climbing higher. And how long is it going to climb higher? Well, I'm watching very closely because we already have a weekly hook. We're just waiting to see if we get a weekly cross. And of course, here's what we talk about. The programming has been set that this weekly does not hook unless the daily already has a hook and a cross. PAI hook, trend momentum cross. And you can bank on that every time, right? So as we continue, we have Bitcoin as a continuation move. Why is Bitcoin going to go higher? This is that same trade I showed you, $2,800 something move lower. We waited till the weekly finished the down cycle. Now we're ready to go back up. And we closed that short trade and we're in the long position. Your next target for those Bitcoin personnel that are trading it, we're looking for it to go to 10,480 range. And as the weekly keeps going week after week after week after week after week after week higher, we're expecting this stair-stepping affair to continue and start moving back towards 13,700. Why? Well, remember, we said, what about when we see we get an engaged slingshot that disengages? A price pattern reversal, a low, a high, a higher low. Whereas this is disengaging, that right there tells me we have months and months and months and months of upside for Bitcoin. And by this engage, disengage, that means no question, highest probability this weekly is going to go up for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to come. And you'll notice we put in class when it's time, as the time frames are cycling, we'll tell you when to buy it, when to scale back in. And in this example, we knew the weekly was going oversold because we had a monthly hook and a cross down. Weekly grinded its way to oversold. Now we know, based on the signs of the original monthly hook and a cross was the origination. So we were long this for a long period of time, making 1,000. And now we got the weekly correction down. Now we got a trend continuation up as it engaged, disengaged. Again, simply stated, this tells me. So now when I'm in this trade, I know there's no reason to short this trade or take profits anytime soon, because we still got weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and the trend momentum weeks and weeks and weeks. And just as a caveat, not only does the PAI have to cycle to overbought before we're ready to take additional profits or take profit, we need at least the trend momentum 1 right here to get an overbought. And that shows me you still have multiple weeks left. Here's one that's setting up. Coffee went on a massive uptrend when we got our engaged, disengaged. Low, high, higher low, higher high. What happened? It went all the way to overbought. Went all the way to overbought. We were smoking on coffee up. Now we got the hook and cross down. Weekly's heading back to oversold. So when are we going to buy this? When the weekly PAI hook hooks. When this PAI ends up hooking, and what do we consider oversold? This green line, it's oversold in green because when you're in this area and it hooks up, you think about buying. And this is considered overbought, and it's red because when you're overbought and it hooks, you think about selling. So everything's color coordinated for your viewing pleasure. Plus, we got a very interesting sign here on the monthly. It engaged, it disengaged, it engaged. So the probability this is going to disengage and continue up for multiple months as we move through the year 2020 is very high. All we're waiting to do is get back in when this weekly reverses and hooks. So coffee's one I'd keep an eye out on for. All right, so let's continue. I got several trades still running. Baidu. Remember Baidu, we had the $14.20 trade that started off early, and we had an engage, disengage on the monthly. So we knew that the weekly was going to grind its way all the way to overbought. Remember I said, watch how this will stair step and how it's programmed in with Ichimoku, that whenever you're below the cloud and you know a weekly in this example is going to make the full cycle, it's likely to run into the cloud. So we gave these targets and we reached our target. Now we're pulling over. I expect to see Baidu get a stair step and go higher in the coming months because the monthly's still up. So that means the weekly's likely to turn back over. But you can see how the hook and cross strategy not only gets you in, but for those of you that operate on the higher time frames, you'll be in these trades for weeks and even months. So whether you're talking Amazon, you're talking Apple, McDonald's, any stocks, future commodity ETF, odd yen, these are setting up the odd yen pairs. I'll show you a few of those real quick. I'll switch platform. We got several in the New Zealand based pairs that are at extremes, monthlies at extremes. We have a weekly that's already starting to move from oversold to overbought, turning over. So we're excited to look to buy this back up. And of course, we already have the daily starting to cycle up, in which all you got to do, well, how difficult is this to trade with? You let the trend momentum, well, the PAI, price action indicator, and the trend momentum get to extreme, it hooks, you get in. And again, we got triggers there to help you enter. So even while this is going down for days and days and days, knowing the daily is going to finish the cycle, when it finally does, you can set this into ready to trade mode and it'll automatically enter it for you. Here's the pound yen, New Zealand yen. Same thing, we're up 332 pips because of a hook and cross strategy. The New Zealand dollar up 168 pips because of a hook and cross strategy. Aussie yen, Aussie New Zealand, this one's setting up big time. Why? Because the weekly's starting to hook and my monthly's already in deep oversold territory. So we're expecting this to give us months of upside pressure. Once the monthly turn, the weekly will finish the cycle, and it's barely even getting started. But what do we see now? The weekly's hooking and crossing. So what does that say about the daily? The daily is going to give us several more days of upside pressure, and notice price is going to run into the cloud. How cool is that? So let's get you excited not only to see what the software can do, but what are we offering? So here with this program, you get the Market Price Anticipator Master Trader program. It includes the premium edition software and includes our live trading classes. We meet 3 times a week, roughly about 6 to 8 hours of live trading, and it includes all of the Market Price Anticipator trade setups that we review in class. And as I mentioned earlier, whether you attend live or not, we set it up based on intraday type of trades when the lower time frames are cycling. So if intraday, if you want to get in the trade, or if you want to later wait for the daily cycle or the weekly cycle. So these classes allow you to get in the trades that you can set up for days in advance, weeks in advance, months in advance. And when it finally comes to pass, you're ready to get in based on those signs and symptoms. What is included with the software? We're not going to have enough time to go through all of this, but we have a market scanner. We have a slice of heaven finder. What is the slice of heaven finder? All those big trades I showed you, we found. This scans the market watch, whatever symbols in the market watch, it will scan. And we notice the pound dollar's in a process of pulling down. Yes, I expect the pound dollar to go lower. Here's that odd Swiss. The odd base pairs are bottoming and reversing. And it's telling me I got a monthly position trigger going up. That's huge. The Aussie Swiss is going to start to stair step higher for months to come. Gold, it's going lower. Monthly starting to turn over and starting to head lower. Gold starting to correct after the big correction. Now, some would say if we go into the coronavirus gets out of control, or if we get some major world event war, then gold will go higher because what? Risk aversion. But without the catalyst, it's going to continue to stair step lower since the last big market event, which was potential war. And now it's starting to pull back. You can see gold's pulling back. So this scanner's included. We include the other scanner, which is this one here. You can set it up, and this is an overview scanner, and you can set up whatever symbols you want to see that's in your market watch, and it tells you what the direction the trend is headed, where the triggers are firing, where your average daily range is, whether you're in a trade, open buys or closes or whatever you're in, it tells you all at a glance. So I can instantly look where slingshots are forming, where the trend momentums are up, trend momentums are down, give me an overall view of where is the pound dollar going. Look, all time frames are headed down. Of course it's going lower. The monthly starting to turn up a little bit, but you still got all these time frames to play out. So look for the pound to start stair stepping lower. Then as these time frames start cycling up, we can start scalping it back up. But that's the scanner. Then on numerous of those trades we showed you, the live trades that are running, this is a scalping trade we got in late on the odd yen. We're already up 30-something pips. We just took profit 1. And the bias is this is going to stair step higher for weeks to come because the weekly is oversold turning over, but it's doing so against a monthly that is up. Plus the odd base pairs. There's numerous, odd dollar, odd yen, odd Swiss, etc. A lot of them are showing the monthly engage, disengage, and we're right at it. See the red turn back up, blue's about to turn, and green's about to turn. Once that turns back up, we expect to see months and months and months and months of upside pressure. Now traders, it doesn't mean, well, I can buy the odd yen and any day of any second of any week of any month, it's always going to go up. Of course not. The time frames always cycle, but you know when it's going to pull back against you when your time frames start to hook and cross down. But overall, it's stair steps. That's why in any market, price stair steps because time frames cycle. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up with the offer. Includes all of these things we didn't have a chance to talk about. And the offer is, I'm going to show it. Normally we charge $3.99 a month. And that's a deal. That's for software, that's for live trade classes and our trade setup alerts. So with that in class, I tell you every day, trade alert, look for the daily when it's overbought and it hooks, sell it, or when it's oversold, buy it, or the weekly, et cetera, like I tell you. Those are in the class for your viewing pleasure. I titled the class to tell you what to look for in the title of each class. Expect the euro and the Aussie to start going higher. Today's class, we talked about Bitcoin and expect Bitcoin to go higher for weeks and weeks to come so the weekly finishes the cycle. So use this link and you should have it available in the chat for you to click on to sign up. And as a big bonus, If you sign up today, we'll give you a second month free. So you sign up, we'll give you 2 months for the price of one. That's $297 for 2 months access for software, for live trading instructions, 6 to 8 hours, plus all of the instruction that goes along with it and the potential trade setups that we talk about every day. And the link is in there for you to click on. So again, this is for webinar attendees. You must sign up today and we'll give you a second month free. At the $297, if you think about software, most places charge way more than much less live trading class. So you do the two, and it's really a tremendous deal. But throwing in a second month, in case you never tried the software, it will give you time instead of just come in for a short period. You'll have 60 days to try it for as little as $297. And it takes minutes to download and install the software. We have world-class technical support. So if you're not technically sound, then we can install it and do everything for you. But it's very simple, auto install software that installs very easily. And why again? Well, just as an example, we've been educating. I'd like to thank you for attending today, obviously, but we've been educating. We got 128 countries and counting. And whenever you join, if your country's flag is not on here, it'll appear on our world map. But we're proud to say that not only do we have numerous customers from around the world, but over 90% of our members have been with us for multiple years, and 75% of those members have been with us 5 years or more. And majority of that is since the inception of our business. So it tells you that the software, the system, and the company works. And yes, we've been here, we'll stay here, and it's simple. Whenever you're ready to get in a trade, it's simple. You let the extremes get to extremes and you look for the hook. And I know the odd yen is going to end up stair-stepping higher based on the higher time frames, but this is how we were able to make hundreds of pips going up. And then if you want to trade it back to the downside, the weekly hooked and crossed down. So the daily has to go to oversold. So I know when I'm in the sell position, I'm selling it until my daily cycles. All right. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time and attention. Thank you, Teddy, for giving us the opportunity to present today. And we look forward to you joining us. Thank you, everyone.